We live in a world that is built for neurotypical people, and so other people don't necessarily understand. You don't understand what it's like to be neurotypical, and other people don't understand what it's like to be autistic. Is that fair?
Yeah.
And so, in terms of communication, neurotypical people have a particular way of communicating, which is very different to an autistic way of communicating. You feel things in a very different way to non-autistic people. So things like lights and lots of noise and kind of just everything in your day-to-day world. If there's too much of that stimuli coming in, that becomes a bit overwhelming sometimes, doesn't it? And so you need time away from people and lights and noise and time to regulate yourself. So PDA stands for pathological demand avoidance, which is probably not the best wording, I would say, because that suggests that you avoid demands, which you do avoid demands, but it's not the demand that is being avoided as such. It doesn't really matter what the demand is. It is an anxiety response to being asked to do. And so as a coping strategy, you need to feel like you're in control and that you have autonomy. And because that keeps you safe all the time, you know what's happening and you can predict what's happening and you are in control. That means that you're safe and that keeps your anxiety low, doesn't it?
If you was in an emergency situation, Aiden, how would you like to be spoken to by the fire service? If you was trapped in a car or you was in a building and they needed to support you, how is the best way for them to do that, do you reckon?
What to speak to me? Tell me everything that's going on. What's to be said?
Yeah, but that's a really important point, isn't it? So if you need to know what they are expecting of you, and you need to know how they're going to help you. So they need to be able to verbalise that and tell you exactly what they're doing and why they're doing it. And I think it's a really important factor within anybody that's autistic, but especially somebody with PDA. There has to be a reason to why somebody is doing something. And if there is no reason, or you see no reason, or you see no purpose, that makes it even harder for you to carry out that demand or request. I was about just an expectation to answer a question is enough to trigger that fight, flight, freeze response, because you can't answer a question in the moment. So when a fireman is talking to you, they need to be able to talk in a way that doesn't warrant an answer. Aiden has one speed, and that isn't because he is being purposely slow or rude or trying to be a rebel, which is what we're often, we joke about. It's actually because Aiden is assessing the whole situation. There is a demand on him. There's an expectation to leave, which has triggered that fight, flight, freeze. So you will hold back to the very, very last minute before you actually do something. And I think, like you're saying, if it's an emergency situation and everything is going at a very fast pace, that will be really, really difficult for you because there is no autonomy there. This is what you're going to do, and you go and do it.
Aiden, tell me about your achievements.
I've got loads. Means I've done my level 1 surf coaching, qualified surf coach, and qualified beach lifeguard, co-steering instructor. Set up my own business called a Low Market at Cape Cooley, and I work for a company called Coastal Crusaders.
What's one of the things that you do with Coastal Crusaders?
A project called Seated Surfing for people who can't surf.
And what about your LOAK surf club? Can you talk about that?
Surf club for learning disabilities.
And who set that up?
Me.
What does Aloha Fuka?
Hello, welcome, and inclusive and inclusion.